AFC champions. So I probably haven't held this since then, so that's kind of cool to be able to whip that out.
We were underdogs, we definitely weren't expected to win it.
It's one of those things, only until now, having not won it again, do people see how important that moment was and how hard it is to do.
I mean, it was amazing, honestly. Like, it was still probably one of the best feelings I've had.
And look at the smiles on those girls' faces. It gives me goosebumps. Congratulations, girls. You've done yourselves proud and you've done Australia proud.
Make sure I don't sit on the dog. Yeah, we're just mucking around. We like to capture the moments. All of us stepping onto the bus, probably pre-match. Lena, Letty had a great tournament. Ivy still playing, can't believe it. Tommy, what a legend. Sarah Walsh. If anyone can make you laugh, it's Walshy. These two, Thea and Bubs, were always attached at the hip. And that's probably when I discovered how to put on a timer on the camera. Anyway, I feel like these two were always up to no good. Beautiful young energy injected into that side.
I think I'm racking my brain. Over 15 years now. I feel incredibly old just even saying that.
So in 2006, we host our first Women's Asian Cup on home soil. It's the first time Australia's ever qualified to the World Cup through Asia, so it was a big moment.
The whole tournament was played in Adelaide at Highmarsh Stadium.
That was a breakout tournament for the Matildas, especially being on home soil.
You know, we had just moved into Asia in 2005. We were playing against Asian teams for the first time and teams that were ranked above us in the world. So to qualify for the World Cup was the most significant thing.
It was pretty stressful. Like we were thinking that it's going to be pretty tough to qualify and miss out on a World Cup. That was going to happen the next year in China. But we got some great results. Got a great result against Japan. We beat them. Caitlin Munoz scored a fantastic goal, which actually saw us qualify for the World Cup.
Well, we had a fantastic tournament up until the final where we got beaten in penalties by China. But I think all accounts, that being kind of our first foray into Asian football, we probably exceeded expectations.
You know, we're kind of finding our feet in Asia. So we're good players playing against good players, which resulted in us progressing, developing.
Fast forward 2 years from there, we go to Vietnam and we lose to North Korea in the semis.
That was a tough tournament. North Korea is one of the best teams I've ever played against in my career. Their structure and discipline and their want to win. They would do things behind the play. They'd pinch you, stand on your toes. They'd walk off the pitch if they didn't like a decision. It was crazy, but they were such a tough team and so structured and regimented. We just could not break them down. It didn't matter what we did, we could not break them down.
It might look like a holiday for the Australian women's soccer team, but the trip to China will become serious business tomorrow when the Matildas meet Vietnam in the Asian Cup. Coach Tom Samani is sticking with his formula of not selecting his best team for the opening game.
For 2006, we really had a very stable, experienced squad, but that squad changed quite significantly going into 2010, and we had lost some really key, important senior players within the squad, the likes of Joey Peters, Di Alligatt, Cheryl Salisbury, and 3 or 4 others. So we were a very different looking team. We had 8 players under the age of 22 or under, and 5 teenagers in the team in 2010.
Yeah, I think to me that tournament was, I was like so young in that tournament. So I think like my memories of it are probably a little bit different to everyone else's. I was just like really happy to be there, had no expectations. Everything seemed like so new, so fresh to me that I think I was just like living in a little bit of a blur the whole tournament.
I think it goes without saying how influential Tom Samani's been in building great teams. And I think what he does really well is he brings in young talent and he gives them an opportunity. And it's not just you get one chance and that's it. Like, he's willing to take some risks and to let players kind of be themselves and bring out their individuality within a system and a structure that allows players to thrive, but also gets the best outcomes for the teams as well.
I think the difference in 2010 for the Matildas squad that I had grown accustomed to was that we had depth. We've just continued to develop these younger footballers, and Sam Kerr was obviously the start of that in my eyes. And we also had little Tegan Allen too, and the youthfulness of energy like that in a squad is pretty special.
It was like the perfect blend and a really good transition. The likes of the Tegan Allens, the Kai Simons, the Sammy Kerrs, who had burst onto the scene. They'd been doing really well domestically in what was the W League back then. But to actually see them at international level and just mix in really well was super exciting. And, I mean, it made for some pretty exciting football for that whole tournament.
Our front line was so potent, and at any one time, the moment we would pick the ball up, so many defences would drop. And then that would help us midfielders, because then we'd be able to receive the ball in between the lines. And so it was a catch-22. Do you play a high line and Walsh and Vanna are offside, or do you drop and we receive the ball in between the lines and then be able to feed them? So it was hard, but it was great to know that we had that up our sleeve as Australia, and that's what I think our point of difference was.
When you have that youthful exuberance, the chasing, the relentlessness, the almost naivety of who they're actually playing boasted well for them in terms of they didn't know who a Kumagai was or a Sawa.
I think for us, we just kind of went with it. We were so naive, so many things went over our head, and we just kind of had that kid mentality of like, whatever, like it really just, that mentality of like, you don't actually care when you're young helps so much.
They were in a senior squad, but I wanted them to be kids. And I wanted the older footballers, the older people in the squad, for us to kind of protect them, but also allow them to be young. And I think that there's a balance to achieve in that human dynamic when there are that's a huge age difference. You're almost twice their age and playing with them or expecting such a high level from them. So there has to be a really good rapport amongst everybody, and for that to develop has to be the right kind of environment, I suppose.
The thing that we did have under Tommy, and this is what I loved, there was always a belief that Australia earned the right to play and earned the right to win.
I think that the expectation was that we were going to win this thing. I don't think we didn't believe that for a minute. We knew it was going to be tough. We had some tough teams that we needed to beat.
Oh, look, we believed that we could win because we'd already come off a successful World Cup. We had a team at that stage that felt really confident of winning against whoever we played in the world. And if you look at some of our results around that time, we beat some of the best teams in the world. So there was a confidence within the team.
We had this never say die attitude. We had it on the inside of the emblem, never say die. And defensively, we knew if we didn't let teams in, if they didn't score, then we had the potency up front. We had players like Sarah Walsh. We had players like Lisa Vanna. We had Colette McCallum to be able to feed those balls, or myself on the left-hand side. We were very fortunate during that period that we had a really stable staff, not just within the coaching ranks, but across the board. You know, we used to travel with somewhere between 8 and 10 staff in those days. And we had a really great group that worked very well together. So, like anything, the staff are critically important, particularly during tournament times. Robbie Hooker, my assistant coach, I'd known Robbie for some 20 years at that time. So he was very much a right-hand man for me at that time. Paul Jones, again, our goalkeeper coach, played for me. I'd known him for probably 20 years. So they're people that I really knew, valued and could trust. And then we brought Di Allegich along because Di was just an absolute legend in the squad and like just hugely respected by everybody. So, you know, having her around the team was fantastic for that team dynamic.
I definitely think Tommy bringing Di into the coaching staff and who had recently retired, and Di Allegich, you could talk for hours on Di Allegich. basically has the DNA of what every single Matilda should be.
It's Australia versus Vietnam in the first game of the AFC Women's Asian Cup. Can the Matildas kickstart their campaign with a win?
Probably most nervous game was the first game against Vietnam. You know, Tommy obviously chose his squad to play that opening match.
It was really, really nerve-wracking. There was a lot of pressure on that first match to really perform.
We needed to get the win if we really wanted to set ourselves up for success and get to the finals. This was a vital game for us. You know, Tom set us up, gave us a really good pep talk to make sure that we knew the importance, kind of put the picture in our heads that they're a team that will probably park the bus. So we have to play around them. We have to be smart. They're going to be tough to try and break through. But when I got the ball mid-halfway and I saw Lena, I knew Lena inside and out. And if I could just get that ball in that area, I knew she would get a head on it.
Ball in on the bounce. This is dangerous. There's the header. It's in the back of the net. It's Karmas with the goal. She is absolutely delighted.
I think the big advantage we had in those days, because everybody was home-based, we were able to get together so much more often. So the players were really familiar with each other, knew each other, played with each other, played against each other. So we had that connection.
Danger not gone. Nodded in by Lewick. Ledbrook searching bus. Beautiful dummy, and Buck is taken down. Is that going to be a penalty? I think it is. It is. The referee points to the spot.
I remember playing alongside Kerr. We had played through 17s and 20s together. The partnership that we kind of had on the field had built up a little bit over time. So I think that the manoeuvre that kind of happened leading into that penalty was sort of something that had happened on the training field a few times.
She moves in and slots it home beautifully, coolly. And
yeah, I think I'm just quite confident with my technique. I think that's one of my strengths in my game. So I was quite confident to step up to the plate. It definitely helps when your team believes in you, and you know, if you're asking for the pen and they said, yeah, you take it. It was a good start to the Asian Cup in 2010.
And while there's not as much experience, the depth of this squad and some of these younger players coming through with their physical attributes, their tactical attributes, you know, they can play, they can run, they're quick. And it really is a testament to all the development systems throughout Australia that are producing these players.
Yeah, I just feel like I was just like so happy to be there that I felt like this is like my chance to like take my moment, like have my time. And I remember actually thinking I played really poorly that first game, so I was like disappointed. But it's like, I think being a kid, you kind of just have to like swallow it. So there was like, I really thought like playing Vietnam, being 2-0 up, this is a moment for me to like go on and score and have like a really big impact. And obviously that didn't happen. So I feel like even from like a young age, I wanted to have that like impact, even though it wasn't expected of me. But I remember feeling like disappointed that I didn't have the impact that I wanted that game.
We really looked at the tournament from a squad perspective, and I had, you know, real confidence in putting out whatever 11 we decided to put out, and they would win the game. So I think if you look at our selections, particularly in the group stages, you'll find that there's been quite significant changes to the starting teams.
It's Australia versus the Korean Republic in the AFC Women's Asian Cup. The Matildas came away with victory in their first match, but today the team's big guns will get their chance to fire.
I think our experienced players are keen to play. You know, we're starting with a virtually new lineup from the other day, and the players are keen to get on the pitch and play.
So second game, South Korea, you know, a really tough team in terms of Asian women's football as well. Probably a team that was, you know, on the rise, quite technical, quite challenging to play at the best of times.
We played exactly the way that we played best against Asian teams, and exploited the weaknesses they had using the sort of strength that we had, and particularly from set pieces or crosses or things that we got into the penalty area. We felt our aerial presence and our physicality in those areas would be an asset for us, and we scored a couple of goals through that.
Yeah, set pieces were obviously one of Australia's strengths, and when we got the opportunity, we'd take it. The beauty of having Australia have, I think, 5 or 6 left footers is that a left footer has beautiful technique, and we'd have various different free kick takers or penalty takers or corner takers. But in that particular game, I had the opportunity to take a corner.
Vanna is there as well. It goes to the far post. Cole Corpus there. It's in the back of the net. Kim Carroll has come up to score the goal and Australia lead 1-0.
Kim Carroll scored her first international goal, I believe. That I remember.
Yeah, it's always great, a defender getting a goal. But in saying that, what Kim had gone through her rehab and her ACL, and I trained with Kimmy at QAS. I lived in Queensland at the time, and she was a really important player, someone with brilliant technique, both-footed, and someone that played such a key role throughout that tournament, especially coming back from injury. So to score and to set us up for that game was so incredible.
Into that corner as we see now the experience of Sarah Walsh coming on to try and create some havoc, and applause for Tegan Allen in her first starting role.
So what happened was I was going to be played late in the tournament because I was literally just had an arthroscope and it needed to happen, and we were all a bit, should I? And so he didn't play me in Vietnam. Korea game, if I remember we talked about if we're doing well, I won't bring you on, but we weren't doing well. He brings me on. We score literally a couple minutes later.
Well, now here's Walsh in the centre now with the number 9. Beautiful ball to Vanna. Charges, hits it. Oh, goes another go, and Vanna scores! 2-0. Brilliant play, Australia. Walsh to Vanna. 2-0.
For an Asian Cup, you risk it. I was like, so I remember coming on a bit nervous, going, oh, am I going to overdo it? But once I'm on the pitch. But I remember Lisa, there was a throw in. It's very rare you'll see Lisa and I that deep in the midfield. Something's wrong if one of us is not making a run ahead. But I've got the ball. We didn't even need to look at her. Just placed it in and she was already off. She's actually, when I hit it, she was standing next to me and she still beat the 2 players. Had enough pace that she could be a one-on-one. 2 bites at the cherry and we were up then. But we were a bit nervous about that game. South Korea, Korea Republic have always been good. But I remember thinking, okay, good, right, we're up. Should I come off? And, so it was one of those ones where we were going to manage my minutes and build up to the back end, yeah.
Another player with tremendous ability and tremendous pace, and I don't think it'll be a welcome change for the Korean defence.
That was kind of the role that I assumed, like coming on as a sub, just having like impacts here and there. I mean, I was always like confident in my ability, but you just never know being a part of a senior team. So I wouldn't say surprised, but like just grateful for every opportunity that I got. I was subbed on at the 63rd minute. Obviously there was a stoppage, straight to the corner.
Gill's free, far post. Can she be found? Gill goes up, heads down. Oh, it was almost there. And the ricochet goes in, and it goes in off Kerr.
But they kicked it into me. I hadn't actually no care in the world how that ball crossed the line. It was my first goal for the national team.
Oh, yeah. It was like a deflection. That's right. It was a goalmouth scramble. You know, like when you actually work on these tournaments, you can't remember anything.
It's 3-0. It's an unbelievable goal. And there it is. The cartwheeling. Sam Kerr. Come on down.
And I had always kind of spoke to Kaya Simon about doing a backflip if I scored because, I don't know, I just knew I had it in my locker. And literally when I did the backflip and stacked it, obviously I was overexcited. You can see me like smiling at the bench and I'm literally laughing like at Kaya, and I was literally like so embarrassed, so happy, and just like dead eyeballing Kaya because I was like trying to save myself from embarrassment. I think just you can't replicate that first goal feeling. It's just like on another level, and it's my first goal for the national team, but also like it's an important moment. Like I know it's 3-0, but that tournament, every goal felt like it mattered, and it did. So I think for me, it was just scoring my first goal, the disappointment of the first game, not feeling I had the impact that I wanted to have and knew that I could have. So just a little bit of relief for me too. But yeah, I mean, first goal for your national team, it's hard to beat.
We got some degree of fortune in the sense that we played Vietnam first and South Korea second and won both of those games. And because of the other results, that automatically qualified us for the semi-final. So for the game against China, it was really in some sense a dead rubber. So from an organisational perspective, and a preparation perspective, the initial stages of the tournament went ideally from our viewpoint. China were a formidable team in those days. They're still ranked above us in the world rankings. They were playing a tournament at home. They had, and still have, I think, particularly at that time, they had won virtually every Asian Cup over the last, 6 or 7 of them. So, no, we didn't underestimate them. But as I say, the key thing for us in that game wasn't so much the result, it was the preparation and getting things right for the semi-final. Because the semi-final, at the end of the day, was a real critical game in this tournament.
The game, obviously, we knew we were through the group, which was like the biggest thing for us. So obviously, like, without even realising a little bit of like, there's a little bit of like complacency that comes in.
We knew we'd qualified for the next round. So I don't know if it was one of those ones where let's just take it a bit easy, let's rest some players, let's see how we go. We don't, have to do anything silly. We don't want to risk anyone. And not saying that then diminishes the players that are on the park. We still need to try and get a result out of that. But I think for us, maybe we just kind of switched off a little bit heading into that game, knowing what was coming next and probably preparing for that. So we probably caught off guard a little bit to actually lose the game 1-0.
Again, they're trying to get some width, and Luik challenged here out on the left side, and the shot is going to come in, and it's in the back of the net. They lead. It's a brilliant goal, well taken from Zhang Shui.
The Australians have had a couple of scares at the back there, and unfortunately China have gone on to punish them with 1 goal. So they really need to get that short up at the back and start communicating a little bit better and working together as a team. You can see down on the touchline, Lisa De Vanna's getting ready to come on, inject a little bit of pace and cause the Chinese defence a few problems.
Feels just about to make that replacement. Lisa De Vanna, who was upset about not being picked in the starting lineup today. The coach obviously holding her back for the more important games.
Lisa's one of probably the most genuine player that I've ever coached, in the sense of her readiness to play a game. So on occasions, Lisa would say to me, I prefer to start on the bench today because I need to watch the game and then I'm ready to come in. Other times you say, I need to start today. I'm up for the game, etc. So she had a really honest view on where she was at. And it was important to listen to that because that really impacted her performance. So my ideal for that game was to rest her for the semi-final, but she said that we had several discussions and she said, look, I need to play in this game. If you want me to be ready for the semi-finals, I don't need to start, but I need to be on the field in this game because that will get me right physically and mentally for the semi-final.
Oh, De Vanna charging, foot goes high, and referee says free kick, and De Vanna has hurt herself. Oh no, this is just what we didn't need. It's a critical situation for Australia. The foot was high, and
trying to see if maybe the Chinese goalkeeper, she landed on her ankle. Oh,
that's terrible. It's an ankle.
It's a very bad ankle, and that just makes me cringe seeing that type of injury.
Oh, this is a despairing moment for Australia. Their ace attacking force in this competition looks to have, we don't want to preempt anything, it looks to have come up with an injury that might put her out of the competition.
So that was pretty much the tournament for her. And I think everyone probably took a collective breath and was like, oh no, what does this mean for us? The most devastating thing to come out of that was that we actually lost one of our key players in Lisa.
It didn't need to turn into what it did. Of course, like in hindsight, we probably should have never played Lisa, but Lisa's a strong character. She wanted to play. I can totally understand that, as a top player that is going to be playing in the finals, if you feel you need minutes, all of that stuff. But, in hindsight, if Tommy had have stuck to his guns, she maybe would be, playing in those extra games. So there was like things that happened that could have been avoidable.
The Australian women's soccer team has been dealt a major blow. Star striker Lisa De Vanna is out of the Asian Cup after breaking her leg in last night's 1-0 loss to China.
She's fractured a fibula, but I think as she landed, she rolled her ankle at the same time.
Like there's a sadness and a grief for your teammate in that moment. Like we're not machines.
It's probably galvanising for the group as well to be like, okay, now we need to do this, well, without Lisa, but for Lisa as well. So in all, you know, things happen for a reason, and you look at hindsight and think at the time it could have been a bad thing, could have been a good thing, but I think it probably just allowed other players to step up and kind of not fill the void, but, you know, take the game on a little bit more.
Just to compare Lisa, at that particular time, she was one of the world's best strikers, and she was a freak.
Lisa at that time was so important to us as that real game changer. And I think Sammy then took up that position and was that game changer in the absence of Lisa de Vanna. And Kate Gill was our out-and-out striker. Kate, you know, super composed player, always good touches on the ball, plays very well with her back to goal, likes to play in and help out other strikers when they're working in tandem. And I thought it was a really good partnership, and Sammy kind of just stood up and was like, right, and being typical Sammy, like nothing really, you know, she's never overawed by an occasion, is she? She's like out there, she's playing football, she's loving it, just like cracks on.
I don't think we ever felt the pressure. Tommy had a really good way with hooks and, you know, Jonesy. They had this way of just making everyone feel at ease. It's no big deal. Just go out there and play. And we were naive enough to really believe them, right? So when we're going into this tournament and these games, we're all thinking, yeah, we're going to try and win, but we're just going out there and doing our best. And if we stick to the plan, if we stick to doing what we need to do, we can come out with the win. But it was really daunting when Vanna went down, and it was kind of the worst injury that we'd have had as a group, physically, where we could see the damage, and we were thrown by that. And it really took a lot for us to come together and say, listen, you know, she is a huge part of our squad, but she's not the only part of our squad.
I think focus probably shifted pretty quickly. Okay, now how do we prepare for Japan?
In 2010, Japan were at their peak, and it was only 1 year later that they won the World Cup. And so that just shows how good they were.
Oh gosh, we're like, really, Japan? Like, oh, and if there's one team you don't want to play, it's Japan. And I mean, they're a class act. Like the talent on their side of the fence is just amazing. For us, we had to be so diligent about how we were going to approach this game, and we had to be so switched on for the full 90 plus minutes. We knew that was what it was going to take. It was going to be a war of attrition, and we were going to get one chance, and we had to take one chance.
The relationship between our two centre backs and our two central midfield players was really critical, because of they had to deal with the movement of the Japan midfield and their strikers. So that was kind of from a tactical perspective. No matter how much pressure we were under or how desperate things looked at the time, that we really had to focus on staying in the game and making sure that we didn't easily get beaten 1v1 or just generally go to sleep as a team and get caught through the volume of possession that Japan might have had. We always knew we were going to get one or two chances, because the Japanese defence at that particular time was suspect.
We'd already beaten them in an Asia Cup 4 years beforehand. So it was not unforeseeable that we could win, but it certainly was backs against the wall sort of mentality that we have to be really, really on point here. And I do remember making a huge speech before the game, and my speeches are not for everyone. But I remember thinking, coming out of that change room, that we were pumped and ready to go and ready to battle for each other. And the goosebumps were high walking out onto the pitch. So regardless of whether we'd won or lost in the game beforehand, Tommy had got us into this mental state of, hey, we're already one step ahead of them because they've played more than us. And we're going to come out on top because we're just going to battle it out like true Aussie, never say die Matildas.
Yeah, I remember that game being like relieved to be on the bench, because I was like, oh God, I don't want to have this pressure of like being on the pitch right now. No expectation to start, but just like the relief of like a young kid not wanting to start yet. And then, yeah, just being really, really nervous, such a tense game.
If I'm being brutally honest, we rode our luck for the first 25 minutes. I think they hit the crossbar and the post, and we were under significant pressure, I think would be the word.
Ball here, Miyama, and it goes high, floating to the post, back post. Oh, it hits the upright. That's unbelievable. And then over the top, so 2 chances. That is extraordinary from Japan. 2 quick-fire chances in the first moment or so.
Fortunate enough for us, I think we had a free kick, which was like close to the halfway line, which you're thinking of nothing of this situation.
This is an enthralling encounter. China's going to play the second semi-final against DPR Korea. Now, can Australia crack a hole in the defence? Nodded on by Gill. Here's Walsh chasing. Up the bounce. It's scooped up. It's missed. It's still down on the ground. Can she gather it? It's still there for Australia. Gill hooks it in. It's a brilliant goal. Australia lead 1-0. Japan in disarray. That is the goal to break Japanese halves.
Fantastic goal by Kate Gill.
I don't know, I think I was standing maybe, not even close to maybe just a little bit outside from the 18-yard box and flicked the ball on thinking that, okay, someone's going to run on after this. Maybe Walshy that got herself in and amongst the chaos.
I rush at the keeper. I'm not making much of a difference, but put pressure on her. They kick it out.
It was an absolute nightmare from their goalkeeper. Not sure what she's doing there.
Keeper couldn't control it. Claire Polkinghorn getting stuck in there.
Someone had like the biggest air swing in front of me, and that someone, I should say, is Sawa, who would never do that in a million years. So I was like, this is kind of really, really weird. And lucky I turned and followed the ball in to think like, okay, what if the crumbs come back out? Where am I going to be? And the ball kind of sat up, and all I remember thinking in my head is, do not hit this ball on the up. So that essentially means you've got to wait for the ball to drop. So you know that you can hit it sweet and you can hit through it, because if you hit the ball on the rise, it's going over. That's all I remember. I mean, just get good contact on the ball, wait for it to drop and hit through it. And yeah, the rest was kind of like, wow, that just went in. So
I remember being on the bench and we just kind of erupted, and it was a very exciting moment just to be 1-0 up against Japan. And then I think once we had sort of settled on that, everyone just flicked into focus and was like, hey, let's see this game out. Like, this is the most important part, is to keep a clean sheet and to get to that next game. And everyone, whether players were on the bench or starting, I think everyone put in a massive effort that game.
That was probably the most crucial goal from a national team that anyone could ever score in the history of the Matildas. And that goal that got crossed over, headed out, and then for Katie to hit that on the volley, first of all, it was a beautiful goal. And second of all, it was basically backs against the wall. We almost had no chances on goal. The possession was 80-90% to Japan. Some of the chances they missed.
There was one particularly significant moment, probably midway during the second half. And it was one of those transitional moments around the halfway line. Unfortunately, they won the ball, and I thought, you just sense the danger. They played the ball out wide to the right winger, who hit a cross in, and the cross hit the top of our crossbar and went behind for a goal kick. And that was the moment in the game I thought, we're not going to lose this game from here.
I remember just being like, oh, this must be our day. If something like that's going to happen, this must be our day. And inevitably it was.
Japan was that team that you just thought that were untouchable. And for us to get ahead in that game and to win that game by the end of it, like, our confidence just grew as a nation. And that obviously showed going into the grand final that, we are competitors and we can do this.
Full time! Australia qualify for the final. They qualify for the World Cup. It's one of their most momentous victories. The Matildas. Tom Samani. Job well done. The Matildas have destroyed the opposition. Japan, the favourites.
Oh, what a relief. That's what we were there to do. Tommy wanted us to finish in the top 4, and then we'd see what happened after that.
It wasn't pretty, but that's what we're known for, fighting and digging deep. And the girls, just tremendously, everyone put it out there. I don't think anyone's got anything left, and that's what we wanted to do.
It was amazing, honestly. It was still probably one of the best feelings I've had. I don't want to say that qualifying for a World Cup now is much easier because it's still an incredibly hard task, but qualifying for the World Cup back then when there was like 3 spots, it was crazy hard to qualify. And so the feeling that time was like the biggest relief.
Sitting with Sawa, which was one of their top players. We were getting drug tested after the game, and she was just so disappointed and so sad, but yet so humble, and said, do you know what? That goal was unbelievable, and you guys had a character like I've never seen before. It was just an incredible feeling. It was like we won the World Cup. I remember the celebrations after it. I remember the relief. I remember the happiness and the dare that we gave to Tommy.
Is everybody else yeah, I'm going. I love that. Expect the worship. Do you want my Venus one?
It wasn't a great look, if I'm being perfectly honest, but I agreed to the bet, and after the game, I was duly taken up into the room and into the bathroom, and my hair was coloured.
The loss of Sarah Walsh is another blow to Australian hopes. With Lisa de Vanna, they have more than 60 international goals between them. Perth 16-year-old Sam Kerr will start in the final alongside semi-final hero Kate Gill. Australia will start underdogs against the world number 5.
I still believe the Matildas can win the game despite the injuries that they've picked up, but that's all part and parcel of playing in a major tournament.
As young kids, we were like kept so out of the loop with all of that stuff, and I remember like the whole tournament there was like a big kind of Walshy secrecy like knee injury, and then like what we got told is that she like hurt herself in the bathroom, and like I don't know if that's like true, but like still to this day that's what like we got told, that she fell over in the shower and hurt her knee.
It was all suspect because it sounds bad that it happened in the bathroom, but that's just where I was walking at the time and I heard a crack. And I was like, I'd come back from a serious surgery. I had so many injuries, I don't even know which one it was, but I do remember hurting myself. It was just, I'd come back too early. But I got a good assist out of it and do it all again. And it meant that Sam started in the final then.
You know, we had this, well, the Matildas have this never say die attitude slogan, and I hammered that in 2010. And I think we all really felt that, and we all really lived by it, and we all bought in. Like, irrespective of our differing views of the world, differing views of each other, we all came together for that one thing. Whatever the word is, whatever the attitude is, it's being on the same page, respecting each other and having the same values. And I think that they're a really good foundation for success.
I think the mentality of the squad was very much what we are as people, that happy-go-lucky. We knew that we had talent, we knew that we wanted more for our country, and we knew that we wanted to be treated better in terms of what we were getting as athletes, but we knew we had to prove ourselves. And we took the naivety of our group and turned it into not expectations, but respect for ourselves and respect for our opponent, and combine that with a little bit of luck.
We were honoured for the opportunity to play in the final, and there was quite a lot of traction back home, and we had a lot of messages on the walls from young boys and girls, and I remember reading them in the hotel and getting messages from loved ones back home. But that final was tough.
There's never been a time where we've felt comfortable against DPR Korea, but this was the tournament where I thought, no, they can be beaten.
So for us, it was, very much, we can get this done. And we had 2 friendlies against them prior. We knew we'd got good results against them. So I think we probably felt like the momentum was on and that we were due and this was going to be our time. And I think that's definitely the mentality that we took into the match. We knew it was going to be hard because they are a very physical team and they're quite savvy in the way that they play the game. You know, they're not immune to pinching you here or there, delaying tactics, going down. They're known for the old walk-off every now and then. So we knew we were going to get everything.
As a 16-year-old, I was like, really? Like, they're going to do that? Like, all the time wasting, all things like that I was like told about, but was just really nervous to like be in the moment. I remember being in the change room before, which was like not the most luxurious change rooms, and just like pretending that I was like so cool, so chill, but like absolutely crapping my pants, like smirking and like laughing in the lineup. That's how I deal with like my nerves. Singing the national anthem, still super nervous. And then like once the game started, I think I was quite unfit then as a kid. Like even looking at myself, I'm like, I wasn't the fittest like athlete in the world. I wasn't like, a mature athlete. I wasn't the strongest. So like that game was like really seriously hard for me. Like pretty exhausted in the first half. I was like gone.
There were, I think if I calculated right, 10 games over 11 days in that venue. It was wet, it was raining, it was miserable, the pitch was muddy, it was sloppy, there was very little grass on it.
Thank gosh it's changed now, and there are some rules and regulations around this and some sensibility that's been brought into the decision making that you do not play consecutive matches on the same pitch. Pretty much it was a mud bath. It got even more challenging obviously when the conditions changed and it got the heavy rain kind of set in. It was really hard to play the ball along the ground, and that probably upset North Korea more than it did us, because that's what they're used to, that kind of crisp fast moving of the ball. And for us, we're a bit more comfortable kind of lobbing things forward, trying to get in behind, turning teams around, even the physicality that we have in the air and the ability to be able to take control in that way. So it probably pivoted a little bit in terms of playing to some of our strengths. But yeah, it was tough for both sides, and the quality of football, it wasn't the most fantastic game to watch, I would say. It would be struggling to watch that. It wasn't pretty at all, but it kind of played into our hands a little bit.
It was a tough game, and it was a game where Sam Kerr scored a goal as almost a ricochet, but it was one of the most important goals, and I don't think she realised it at the time.
We do have the aerial prowess of Kate Gill and also the speed of Sam Kerr. And
was that offside? She's onside. Flag down. Here's Kerr. Pumps it into the net. 1-0 Australia.
I was playing on the wing then, and I feel like the wing is like a super hard position, especially when you're not that fit. And yeah, the ball was kind of bouncing around and Polk's just played it through. And coming from like an AFL background, I've always been told like play the whistle, and I did think I was actually offside. But I think just always like play the whistle. I just played and kept on playing. And then once I was about 5 metres with the ball, I realised they're not going to call me for offside here. And yeah, just thought like put it low and away from the goalkeeper, and I think she got a hand on it.
As a 16-year-old, they're the moments you dream about.
Probably nowadays a goalkeeper would save that, but I didn't really care at the time. I was just so relieved, and I think you can see on my face I don't even really celebrate. I'm just like shocked. I'm just relieved, and I just felt like, as a young kid being on the team, that's all you want to do, is you just want to like give an assist or a goal and provide to the team. And I think like that grew in my career, but in that moment that was just like kind of like a tick box for me. It was like, okay, Tommy started me and now it's like I've done my job.
And then it was like, okay, how do we kind of take the air out of this? How do we control the tempo? How do we make sure we don't concede? And it wasn't until the final minutes we'd like really exhausted ourselves and we gave away a really, really cheap, sloppy goal.
And the DPR Korea threatening some danger. Held out by Garriock. And in now, a tough ball, free header in the back of the net. It's a goal! It's the equaliser from Song Young-mi! 1-1!
We can see on the replay, free header in the box there. Some good build-up play from DPR Korea, and to be honest, it probably looks like it's been coming over the past few minutes. The Matildas have had to sustain a little bit of pressure, haven't been able to break out of it.
I remember Tommy obviously looked down to the bench, and I was warming up as they equalised, and I guess Tommy looked at me and was hoping that I could come on and produce something, or at least help the team in some way. So he called me back down to the sideline and gave me a couple of words of wisdom and sent me out on the pitch.
And the Matildas need to keep believing that they can get in behind this DPR Korea defence and cause them some problems and maybe nick another goal.
Okay, if we can make sure that this ends 1-1, we get through the extra time, we don't concede, we've got this on penalties.
It's all over, we go to penalties.
Well, what a game. What an absolute game. A true final.
I remember my legs were so heavy from exhaustion because we had not only played into extra time, we'd also played in mud for like 120 minutes. And you've got the lead up to the game, it's high pressure stakes. You've hardly touched the ball, hardly been able to string any passes together. And then we're all huddled after the game, after extra time. And you have an idea of who will be taking the penalties. I can't recall if the order had already been determined, but I was 100% taking one. I loved a penalty. And I think what I loved is like the mental part of that. You can never doubt yourself when it comes to a penalty.
Thank God I'm not on the pitch. Like, that was honestly just my thinking, like, thank God, because, you know, I'm a child. I like didn't want to take that pressure on, and like, I'm not afraid to admit that right now. Like, my thoughts were just like, thank God someone else is doing this. And I think that's like something now that I like think of in my career is like, it's okay to like not want to do that. It's like part of football. And I think in that moment I was like really immature, but also mature enough to be like, hey, this is like not for me. Like, I was just thinking, thank God, like, good luck, girls. Like, I am here to support you.
At training sessions, at the end of training sessions, you practice penalties all the time. It doesn't just come.
I was lucky enough to get put on. Maybe that was a bit of a tactic from Tommy Samani. Knowing that I was so confident to take a penalty, and if it went to penalties, I had fresh legs.
They had 4 people that they'd selected for penalty takers. They rattled off the names. I think Sally was first, and then there was a bit of silence there. I remember Tommy and Hook said, "Does anyone feel confident to take the 5th penalty?" And I don't think at that time I actually realised the weight of the 5th penalty taker. I think I just thought of the confidence that I had within my ability to score a penalty, no matter what was weighing on that. I don't think which was probably a good thing in hindsight. So yeah, just me as a confident 18-year-old stuck my hand up and said, I'll take it. And if I could have taken a picture of Hook's and Tommy's face at that time, almost I'd like to think it was confidence, but I think there was definitely a bit of uncertainty when they saw that I stuck my hand up, but you know, they obviously had enough confidence in me to say, "Yep, you'll take the 5th penalty."
Penalty shootouts are a pretty harsh way to lose a game, and we learnt that in 2006. That's quite a big tournament, but gosh, they're a great way to win a game. But I would say also luck is involved in that situation too, especially in tournament mode when you're playing back-to-back games with very little rest in between. You know, you might be suffering certain injuries, certain key players might be out. So there's a lot of sort of stuff that has to kind of fit. So I wouldn't say necessarily like perfection is what you're aiming for in that context.
I remember thinking, just relax, just watch the ball, just do the best you can.
Barbieri waits. Ready to wrap her hands around the ball. First strike is in at the back of the nets.
Good finish from the DPR Korea player.
You have been given this role, Sally, you're going to be our number 1 kicker. And I'm like, okay, no worries. And then you basically just like head down. You've got your arms around your teammates. And I did my routine, I did my laces, fixed my shin pads, fixed my socks, and gave it a crack.
Australia away to a start and level it up. Shippard moves in, booms into the back of the nets.
Well done, Sally Shippard. And the big smile on the face, you could see when she walked up to that penalty, she was all concentration.
Yeah, another 4 kickers to go after me, and it was a pretty It was an honour to be selected, and I'm glad that I managed to play my role in a positive way in that moment.
Yeah, I remember Sal. People don't realise now how much of a star Sally was. Like back in the day, Sally was like the cool like kid that was like gonna be, you know.
Well, she's asking if that's on the front edge of the spot or some of it hanging over.
Couldn't see the spot because of the rain, the torrential rain, and so I was like, hold on, that looks, because you've got the goal behind you, but you can't tell where you are. And sometimes when I'm training even, if you're not central, it can really throw you off. So I needed to know exactly where the spot was.
She's not going to waste too much time. Song Mi misses! Clean miss! Not by a small space either. And it is a miss.
Sent Barbieri the wrong way, but she's missed by about a metre.
After they had missed one as well, so my penalty was up, so my heart was going 1,000 miles an hour going, shit, like they've just missed one, you can't miss one.
Now Kylie Ledbrook is already netted from the spot in the tournament. She is a player of great ability. Look at the focus on the ball. This for an Australian lead. Ledbrook moves in, booms it into the back of the net as well. It's 2-1 Australia with the advantage, and now the pressure on the Koreans.
I feel like we'd already lost a penalty shootout, so we'd learnt a lot from that.
Now another youngster, Chae Yong Sim, a 19-year-old, and Barbieri playing the mind game as well, digging deep. This is really a must-get, you'd think, for DPR Korea to stay in the hunt. She moves in, and Barbieri almost saved it. She was there, got a finger to it, but she nets and levels it up again.
Everybody wants that moment of you did it. I mean, Swartzer got one, why couldn't I? But full credit to our girls, because a lot of them hadn't played full minutes, but maybe that was Tommy's secret sauce. Maybe he just wanted the ones that were the freshest to come on and have that level-headedness, and the ones who missed in the years before were some of our most experienced players. So it doesn't mean anything whether you're experienced or you're youthful or whatever. The pressure is the pressure.
I'd love to turn around and say we did. There was no analysis. We practiced them a little bit, the couple of days leading in, people took them. But no, it was the ones that who felt confident, the ones that you thought, yeah, they're ones that take penalties quite regularly. And then, as I say, in the moment.
And now Kate Gill with a memorable goal to steer Australia into this particular position.
I was probably quietly confident. Like, I've always been pretty clinical when it comes to penalty taking.
She's become more authoritative. She's had a grand career for the Matildas. Can she really seal it by nailing the penalty and keeping Australia ahead? She moves in, and it is in. She's planted it beautifully, and Australia maintain its advantage. It is 3-2.
I think the hardest thing for all of us was to actually try and find the penalty spot.
I was trying to transfer the pressure as much as I could to the strikers, and it was probably my second penalty shootout ever.
And now, this is absolutely must get for Yu Yong Hui. Moves in. That's a beautiful penalty too.
Very good.
Level it back up. It's
very good penalty from the DPR Korea player there.
That particular time, taking the fourth penalty, it was so much perfection prior to that with the other penalty takers. Everybody converted, so the pressure was on.
She moves in and gets it, plants it down the middle. Australia fall perfectly in the back of the net.
Pressure's all on the DPR Korea players here. Another good penalty taken. Heather Garrier just picking a spot. Absolutely no chance whatsoever. And you see her give a little kiss to Bill up in the crowd.
Yeah, the celebration after the penalty was a kiss to my dad in the stands. My dad was my number one supporter, and no matter what or where our games were, he'd be there. And he was one of very few supporters that come to that Asian Cup.
The fact that we had youth on our side, and once again that naivety of the situation, it hadn't occurred to a lot of people that how big this moment is, and it really played in our favour
She must score, otherwise Australia win the Asian Cup. As Barbieri going to come up with a save. She moves in. It's a superb penalty to level it up.
Probably the thing that stands out is Kaya's penalty, the last one. She'd come on as a substitute, and I think Kaya spent probably more time on her backside than she did on her feet in the slippery surface.
The pitch is like chewed up, and I remember Kaya walking up and thinking, thank God that is not me.
This is either going in the top corner or it's going in row 27. And Kaya, in her own particular way, strolled up, looking like she was just taking a penalty kick with her mates in a local park.
I think as I was walking up to the penalty spot, one, it felt like the longest walk in my life. And I just remember as I'm walking, the slush in my boots and the water in my socks, it just felt like I had 2 litres of water in each boot as I'm walking up, and yeah, almost the pitch is giving way because it's so muddy and sloshy. I had my side picked. I was going kind of that right top corner.
Oh my God, like, please Kaya, just get it in, just get it in.
On the edge of our seats.
Never in your wildest dreams would you want to be like in that position and lose. And we happen to be in that position and win.
Kaya Simon has the Asian Cup in her hand. The 18-year-old who scored 2 winners for Australia in real time. Can she win the Asian Cup? She wins its first Asian Cup! Sensational performance! One of grit, one of determination, one of passion, and in the penalty shootout, one of cool heads.
When she hit the net, it was a beautiful pet actually. Like, that was just, such relief. I just can't explain the feeling.
We were all kind of way too excited for our own good.
When I seen it ripple the back of the net and obviously the water spray off the net, I just remember turning around and seeing all the girls sprint towards me.
I don't want to jump on her, so I start doing this crazy dance that everyone calls my bubs dance. But really I was like, get off, like you're going to hurt her, like stop.
I remember Kim Carroll was the one on top of me, kind of holding everyone off from me suffocating underneath.
Stick performance. Thanks, Alicia. I really love to be here. I'm so proud of you guys. Well done. Oh, it's so good, mate. Hell, serious. Oh, I get this. I know. I get so excited. I keep nearly crying. I'm like a big girl's blouse.
Australia breaks through and wins in Asia. It's the first Asian Cup.
Congratulations, girls. You've done a fantastic job, and what a great reward for all the hard work.
There's a lot of work behind you, you know, those teammates on the bench, the people who just missed out, the fringe players. You're not out there just playing for yourself. And in a situation like that, I mean, I cannot imagine what it must be like to be a footballer in this day and age with the following that they have and the pressure and the expectation. But for us, we were playing for each other, we were playing for our family and friends, and we were playing for, like, you know, the young people we were when we first fell in love with the game. Like, it was, I don't know, a pretty special time, I think, and unique.
We have such a special bond, that playing group, to have won something so special, and to this day, the Matildas still haven't won silverware, and let's hope for next year, 20 years on from the 2006 Asian Cup, the Matildas can win the second lot of silverware.